Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. If you are new here, my name is Bronwyn, and as of now, Walt Disney World has been open back for about a month. I have been to all of the parks at this point, so I wanted to give you a little bit of an update on how Disney is handling things. I know I've been getting a ton of messages from people just trying to figure out what they're like now, because it is kind of hard to tell from videos. So I asked over on Instagram if there's any like specific things you wanted me to talk about. I have a whole list, so let's get started. Right now, all 4 parks are open, but they do have limited capacity as well as limited hours. Probably the #1 thing that I've been asked is if it's even worth going. Now this is all going to be from my point of view and my experience in the parks. I think if this is going to be your very first time ever to Disney, part of me is like, no, don't come, wait until things are back to normal. But also like, if you don't care about meeting characters, if you don't care about seeing the fireworks and you just want to go on rides, I feel like now is almost a good time to come because there's so few people in the parks. Hollywood Studios I went to during a cast preview. The other 3 parks I went to during cast previews and also have now been to as just like a normal day guest. Of those, I think that the longest line I waited in, other than Rise of the Resistance, which I feel like doesn't even count because for the cast previews they didn't do the virtual queue and now they are, so you don't have to wait in line like we did. Aside from that, I think the longest line that I've waited in was probably for Mine Train or Splash Mountain. Both were only like 15 minutes. Just about everything that I've gone on is a walk-on. For me, the magic is 100% still there. They do still have characters that they do little like small parades. They're not parades, it's more like a little cavalcade. They have like in Hollywood Studios, they have one with all the Pixar characters. They have one with Mickey and Minnie. Epcot has a whole princess one. Magic Kingdom has a whole princess one. Merida rides on a horse. For me, the things that feel the most different are obviously the fact that you have a mask on and also just like being aware of other people. They have markers in all of the lines to make sure you're standing 6 feet apart, whereas normally they're like fill in all available space. That to me, that's the only thing that I really notice feels different when I'm in the parks. Overall, I do feel pretty safe when I'm in the parks. Obviously, it is still a global pandemic that's going on that I don't think you're ever gonna feel 100% safe regardless of where you are. I definitely feel a lot safer when I'm in the parks than I do just like going to the grocery store or going to Target or somewhere. They have mandatory cleanings. I'm not 100% positive how often those happen, but they do have mandatory cleanings of all of the rides. There's constantly custodial cast members that are cleaning off like any surfaces that are out in the open. I will say for the most part, I have felt like everybody has kept their masks on. There definitely are some people that I see that, you know, keep it below their nose or just are hot and want to take it off. But for the most part, I would say people are pretty good about wearing their masks, and cast are also really, really good about enforcing it, especially with telling people to pull it up above their nose, because we all know if you don't have it up above your nose, it literally isn't doing anything. So cast have gotten really good about making sure that not only do you have a mask on, but it's being worn properly. I feel like for me, the place that I notice the like COVID precautions the most is in Epcot, and that's just because they do have like a miniature version of Food and Wine going on, and I feel like the whole point of Food and Wine is you get your little food, you walk around, it's a great time, and Disney has like made the rule, I guess, that you have to be standing stationary to take your mask off and eat. You can't just milk a drink for 6 hours so that you don't have to wear a mask. Unless you are standing completely still, not walking around or anything, you can't have your mask off. Now that's obviously not the end of the world. You just get your food, you go find a table and you enjoy it there. But I do feel like the festival feels different not being able to like walk around and eat your food. But other than that, I feel like restaurants and eating are pretty normal, at least for me for the most part. Even if I'm just getting like a Mickey bar, I don't really walk around with it. I find a spot and I sit and eat it, and that's the same rule that is going on right now. You can still eat outside, you can still eat like wherever you want to. You don't necessarily, at least from what I've noticed, you don't necessarily have to be in a designated area or like in a restaurant to eat. You just have to make sure that you're sitting still and you're obviously away from people. And that goes for restaurants as well. You do have to have your mask on when you're going like in or out, if you're going to the restrooms or anything like that. But once you're at your table, even if you don't have food yet, you are allowed to go ahead and take your mask off. I feel like those are like the big things that I have been asked. So hopefully that helped, you know, kind of describe things a little bit. I want to go through some of the questions that I got over on Instagram just to make sure that I don't miss anything. Do you still think Disney is worth the price even without the parades and shows? So in a nutshell, yes. I know when I go, like, obviously, yeah, I love the parades and I love the characters and everything, but I'm a kind of person that I do like to ride rides. If you don't care about rides at all, then no, it's not worth the money to go. However, I think if you do like rides and that's what you want to do when you go to the parks, then it's kind of worth the money. As far as I know, they haven't like discounted the tickets or anything at all, even with the park hours being limited, so that is something to think about. So not only right now do you have to have a ticket to get in, you also have to have a specific reservation for the park itself. So you can't park hop anymore, I guess, to limit, you know, how many people are in the parks. They don't know, okay, I'm gonna park hop. They don't know if you're coming to Epcot at 10 a.m. and leaving by 3, and then you're gonna go to Magic Kingdom 3 to whatever. It's just too hard, I guess, to like mandate, you know, how many people are in the parks to make sure that there actually is a limited capacity. So that is something to be aware of with the price of your ticket, that it is not gonna be a park hopper. I personally feel like if this is gonna be your one and only trip to Disney World you've been saving for 15 years, maybe wait until things are just a little bit more back to normal. When is the best time to go? Are weekends busier? I feel like the weekends definitely are busier because that's when a lot of the like locals and annual pass holders go. So if you're trying to go, maybe try to go during the week, but even if you go on a weekend, it's still not going to be like normal summer Florida crowds. Is there still photo pass workers? Yes, there are still photo pass all over the parks. You can still get your pictures taken. Photo pass isn't allowed to take photos on your camera or phone anymore, so just be aware. If you don't have a memory maker or you don't have any interest in buying the pictures, then they're not going to be able to take it on your phone like normal. Someone just asked what the wait times were like and what the queues feel like. So I kind of mentioned this before, but I'll go a little bit more in depth about it. There aren't any fast passes right now, so a lot of the lines have kind of been converted to take up the fast pass and the regular line. They do have markings like all the way far back to make sure that people are actually standing 6 feet apart. For the most part, when I went, everything was a walk-on. Even Peter Pan's flight at like 11 a.m. was a 5-minute wait. When they do have to clean the ride, that is when the wait times start to go up a little bit. I know like when we and Caitlin went on Splash Mountain, we made it all the way through the queue. It was like maybe 10 minutes, and then right before we were about to get into our like boat or whatever, a little log, whatever it is, they close for about 10 to 15 minutes just to sanitize everything, and then after it gets sanitized, it has to like go through the ride once so that it dries and actually kills the bacteria. So be aware if you go during a time that they start cleaning, your wait may be a little bit longer. They do normally post the wait times though up when that happens. Like I know when we got in line for Splash Mountain, I think it said it was gonna be like a 45-minute wait just because they knew that cleaning was about to happen. So if your wait time suddenly jumps up, that's probably why. Are some of the seating on the rides blocked off? Yes. So in certain rides, it just kind of depends on like what the ride vehicle is like. They'll do every other row seating, or they'll have like a partition. Like on the Safari, they just had a partition between all of the rows. So that way you're still making sure that you're 6 feet apart from other families and such. How can I know where and when I see the characters make an appearance? So all of the character offerings are unannounced. So they'll just all of a sudden come rolling by. For the most part, they do kind of happen all day. So like Magic Kingdom, it just goes through the normal parade route. Hollywood Studios, it goes right down the middle of Hollywood Boulevard. Animal Kingdoms is down like in the water that goes around the park. And Epcot's is around the World Showcase. So if you're just in one of those areas for, I would say like 30 minutes, probably somebody is gonna come by. There's no guarantee of like who it's gonna be, so if you really want to see the princesses that day, then you may have to hang around a little bit longer. There is no schedule or like times guide that guests can get to know when characters are gonna come out. It's just a little surprise and delight. Is there anywhere to take your mask off for a breather / can you? Yes, there are what they call relaxation stations in each of the parks. They have multiple of them too, so you don't have to walk to the complete other side of the park to find one. I don't know necessarily where they are in each of the parks, but you can ask a cast member, and I'm sure that they can direct you to the nearest one. But they have spots called those relaxation stations that you can go hang out, take your mask off. They have a cast member at the front of them that's counting people to make sure it's not getting too crazy or busy in there, and to really limit it, especially because people don't have their masks on in there. But also if you are going to any restaurants, that's also a good time. Obviously you can take your mask off while you're eating. Besides the heat, what do you think is the worst part about wearing masks at the parks? For me, I've gotten asked about this a lot. I don't find it bothersome to wear masks in the park. I obviously have been wearing a mask since the beginning, and so I feel like by the time the parks opened and I was going to the parks in a mask, I knew which masks for me were like the most comfortable, which ones didn't hurt my ears, which ones I could breathe in the best, that I've never had an issue with wearing a mask in the parks. I really like, by the time it's on, I don't even realize that it's on. So yeah, I know a lot of people have said like it's hard in the heat and all that kind of stuff, but I think if you have like good masks and ones that you've worn before and know aren't gonna bother you, then you'll be fine. are you still working there? So I am actually still furloughed from Disney. The Bibbidi Bobbidi Boutique isn't open yet, and because I'm seasonal, I was not asked to like change lines of business or anything like some people at the boutique were, depending on like your level of employment, I guess. But as seasonal, I did not get asked to do that, so I'm still furloughed from the company. I do still get to keep all of my like benefits, so I can still get into the parks if we're not blocked out and that kind of stuff, but as of right now, not working there right this second. But when the boutique opens, I will still have my job. If the park is at full capacity, how do they turn people away trying to get in? So I don't know everything, but you do have to have a park reservation to get into the park that day, so I don't know necessarily if you can just like walk up and buy a ticket like you normally would be able to. So yeah, I don't know how they are maybe turning people away, but if you are worried about that, make sure you get your tickets beforehand and have a park reservation so that you don't have to worry about that. Can you pay with money or do you have to use card payment? So you can pay with cash if that is your only means of payment. However, they are trying to encourage contactless payment where possible. So using Apple Pay or using a card, anything like that, they're encouraging, but you can still pay with cash if you have to. I've heard that people feel safer than at the grocery store. Do you feel the same? I also kind of talked about this a little bit, but I think I definitely feel safer in the parks than just going like to the grocery store or anything like that, just because I feel like if I'm taking a trip to Publix, yes, masks are required, but it's not like Disney. They're not really turning people away if you don't have a mask on. They're not enforcing or really like encouraging social distancing all that much, just like at Publix or anywhere like that, where I feel like Disney is really enforcing all of the rules that they have set forward. So I definitely feel safer in the parks than I do just like at Publix. The other thing that I got asked the most about was what I think of the Cinderella castle paint job. Personally, I love it. I think it's gorgeous. I don't love the blue. I think it's a little too bright, but with the Florida sun, I feel like it's gonna fade in about 3 seconds anyway, but I love the pink, I love the gold. I think it looks so good. I hope this video helped a little bit and provided you some insight on what the reopened Disney World is like. If you have any other questions, feel free to comment down below, DM me on Instagram, and I'll do my best to respond to as many as I can. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see y'all again real soon. Bye!